I think the second time I saw him at my home, because I was contemplating getting new countertops and everything. So he was talking about how what a blessing his marriage was and how God sent her into his life, and he was just totally blissfully happy, and it was just wonderful. It was like, yes.
So based on those interactions, there was a period of time where Mr. Thomas appeared happy in his relationship.
Oh, 100%, just like over the moon.
And happy
And
with
I was so happy for him as well.
Perfect.
Yes.
And happy with Miss Thomas as a parent and things like that?
Oh, he didn't go into, I mean, because it was like in
Fair
my
enough.
foyer we were having this conversation.
Fair enough.
And there is another gentleman present, so,
Fair enough.
yeah.
And you haven't seen him yell or anything like that, is that correct?
No, I
Okay.
haven't.
So you wouldn't know anything about any testimony about him making a stove inoperational for 7 days, even though there's a small child that's breastfeeding?
No,
You wouldn't know anything about him throwing things in the home during the marriage?
absolutely not.
You wouldn't know anything about him locking himself away in rooms for hours on end to be away from the child or his spouse or anything like that?
No, I've never heard any of this.
And
No.
because all of your information is coming from Mr. Thomas at this point,
Of
right?
course,
Right.
absolutely.
So whatever sort of picture that Mr. Thomas wants to portray to you or anyone else, that's the picture that he wants to portray, and that's all the information you get, right?
Correct.
Okay. You travel a bunch?
Yes, I do.
How often do you travel?
Every probably couple months I
enough.
travel. Yeah.
It sounds like you got family that's overseas, California, I think you said Spain and things like
Yeah.
that. That's wonderful. And all of your children are adults now.
Oh, yeah.
And so you have a close relationship with them.
Oh, yeah.
You think that's important for a parent?
100%.
You think that if a parent has a close relationship with children that are adults, that means they probably raised them to be pretty good and were a good parent themselves?
Sure. I mean, it's our legacy, isn't it?
Would it concern you at all do you know, well, scratch that question. Do you know how many adult children that Mr. Thomas has?
He has 4.
Okay. Would it surprise you to know that he doesn't have a good relationship with any of them?
Well, he did tell me that he felt like he was Job in one situation where his children were alienated from him. So, and he was devastated, obviously, as any parent would be if his children were alienated from.
And when he says alienated, he was talking about his adult kids at that point?
Yes. I think it was just 2 sons, though, that he was alienated from. Yeah,
Did
to my recollection.
Did he say who made the alienation choice for these 2 sons to not have a relationship with Mr. Thomas?
It was a bit sordid.
But no specifics that you recall?
He did go into a little bit of detail about his 2 sons that were helping him run his business, and his soon-to-be ex-wife.
I'm going to put it
Rachel.
bluntly. He told you that his soon-to-be ex-wife had had sexual relations with his sons?
Yes.
And that she had had sexual relations with other people? Did he say any other people or just his sons?
He did.
Okay. Did he say that he thought that Scarlett wasn't his child at any point or no?
No.
Okay. He didn't express that to you?
No.
It was always Scarlett's my child?
Oh, absolutely.
Would it surprise you to know that he made statements on multiple occasions that Scarlett was not his child and requested DNA test?
No?
It would not surprise you or?
No, I mean, no, I didn't know about it.
Okay,
Yes, it
understood.
would surprise me.
Understood. Again, you're getting the version of Mr. Thomas that Mr. Thomas wants you to get at this point, right?
It's, I mean,
You-
correct. Yes.
Nothing further.
May need to pull the base of the microphone towards you, so. Ms. Gilman, would you please state your first and last name for the court?
Roberta Gilman.
And Ms. Gilman, how long have you known Mr. Thomas?
More than 2 years.
Okay. And tell the court a little bit about yourself. Do you live here in Dixon County?
I live in Clarksville.
Okay.
I've been in the area for about 18 years.
Okay. And are you currently married?
I am.
Okay. Who are you married to?
Scott Gilman,
Okay. And how long have you been married?
43 years.
Okay. And do you, Mr. Thomas, and your husband, are you guys friends?
Yes.
Okay. And so Mr. Thomas has met your husband?
Oh, yes.
Okay. And you guys are social friends, you go out to dinners together and things of that nature, is that correct?
My husband hasn't been out to dinner with Mr. Thomas,
Sure.
but yeah.
Okay. And so how often do you see or talk to Mr. Thomas?
I guess it depends. Sometimes we'll go a few months without talking.
Sure.
Or a couple, just a couple months, but yeah, we have a very, very nice friendship.
Okay.
Yeah.
So through the course of your friendship, have you become aware of why we're here today?
Yes.
Okay. And you understand that Mr. Thomas is seeking to gain parenting time of his children? Or of
Absolutely.
his child at this
Yes.
time, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And are you willing and able to offer Mr. Thomas any type of assistance if he should need it?
Absolutely.
Okay. And what kind of form could that take? Are you able to be a third party to pick up a minor child if you needed
Absolutely.
to? So you're
Yes, in
able,
any capacity that I could help.
so you're able to facilitate exchanges?
Sure.
Okay, if the court needed you to do that?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have children of your own?
I do.
How many children do you
I have two.
And what are their ages?
42 and 39.
Any grandchildren?
Yes.
How many grandchildren?
4.
Okay. And so you understand the undertaking if you were required to assist Mr.
Absolutely.
Thomas of what it's like having a 18-month-old child.
Oh, yes. I mean, I've flown, I've taken transatlantic flights, to visit my 2 grandsons in England, and my daughter currently lives in California, and my son now lives in Spain. So yeah, I travel.
And so during the course of the 2 years that you've known Mr. Thomas, have you ever observed him to be angry or frustrated or scream or yell or have any kind of outbursts when you were around?
Never.
Okay.
No.
You've got no further questions, Judge?
Kirby, you may cross-examine.
Thank you, Your Honor. Morning, ma'am.
Morning.
My name's Anthony Kirby. I represent Miss Rachel Thomas, okay?
Yes.
Do you know Miss Rachel Thomas?
I do not.
You've never spoken to her, never
I
met her? All right. So
Yeah.
as far as your opinion, you don't have an opinion of Miss Rachel Thomas?
I do not.
Okay, understood. Does Mr. Thomas speak of Rachel Thomas?
On occasion, yes, he'll talk about, the children and how he would like to see the children, and
Does he speak about her personally? Does he make any personal statements about her and share his feelings on her?
he's mentioned a few things,
What would those things be?
just about how they just didn't get along. But initially, when I spoke to Mr. Thomas,
So I came home from the bachelorette trip and he was going on a rage. Well, prior to that, he had left me. One of the times he had financially cut me off was I was about 45 miles out from the house, and he had emptied the account to where I had no gas money to make it the rest of the way home. And my parents had afforded me the money so I could make it back home from the bachelorette trip. And then I get to the house, and then he's accusing, I believe it was like $4,000 when I got in, that was stolen from his truck. Well, I physically wasn't there over the weekend, and it escalated on that conversation because I said, who would steal $4,000? I wasn't here. Well, I said the kids wouldn't do it. Well, he's like, I think he mentioned a ghost. Well, then it was a GD ghost that did it then or something. And I said, Michael, that's the craziest thing I've ever heard. For one, he always sleeps with his keys. He never lets his vehicle keys out of his possession. He does that with his phone and his keys. So you don't get them out of his arm's reach. And so the conversation escalated, at which he kicked the living room table at me, the side table. And then
A side table, you said?
Yes. And
That-
then I tried after that incident, I tried leaving the house so I could go to the sheriff's department because he became very, honestly, that was probably one of the worst night, well, it was the worst night that I had had with him. And I knew that it wasn't, I knew his temper and I knew it was worse that night than what I had honestly previously had seen it. And so I tried to get out by saying I was going to go to the Dollar General and take the kids with me so I could go on the back side of the sheriff's department. And he wouldn't let us leave without him. And he said, I'm going to go. We're all going to go together as a family. And so then I started to go to the Dollar General and we went there together, and there was multiple interruptions on that trip in the short duration that it was for us to get to the Dollar General. We went and got out of the Dollar General, and then I stuffed the keys in my bra because I knew him, because when he gets angry, he takes off with my keys. So I'd put the keys when I got to the Dollar General down in my bra, and he was wondering where the keys were at, and I knew what that was going to entail because, like I said, as soon as usually he got angry, that was what he resorted to, was taking my keys from me. And so I had just gotten smart at that point after previous multiple experiences with that. And then we got back in the car and we headed back home. And then the kids were in bed. I got the kids into bed. And then he got verbally aggressive again. And then we split off. I went to the bedroom with Connor and Scarlett. No, I didn't have Scarlett at that time. I'm sorry. It was just Connor. Connor was in our bedroom. And he came in there and he basically told me that, to the best of my recollection, because it's been a while for verbatim wording, but basically that he was sorry that that wasn't Michael. Michael didn't say those things, and Daddy's sorry. And then he proceeded to put himself upon me, and Connor was right there. I told him I didn't want to do it because Connor was right there and no. And then he says, you come out now or I'm going to wake him up. And so I didn't want Connor to be woken up. And I went out there, and then he proceeded to try to take my bra off. And when he tried to take it off, my bra broke. And then I wanted to get away, and he told me to follow him into Connor's bedroom because Connor slept with us, or with me, that he slept in our bedroom. And so he told me to get into Connor's bedroom, and then that's when he put himself upon me. And he did until he came. And then the next morning, as soon as I knew I could get out when he was asleep, I packed up the kids and I went to the police station.
Thank you, Ms. Thomas. And just for the record, I've got to ask, about when did that happen? Date range?
That happened on September 21st. And I think I might have gone, I'm just roughly guessing, between 5 to 7 p.m. that night. It was when it all started, when I got home.
And that was 2025?
Yes, sir.
Scarlett had been born.
Yes, sir.
All your other children were in the home as well.
All but Scarlett, because Scarlett was with my parents, sir.
But all the stepchildren were in the home.
Yes, sir.
Ma'am, do you feel comfortable with what you've seen happen and what you've had happen through this relationship? Do you feel comfortable with Mr. Thomas being able to take Scarlett to Tennessee and having Scarlett around him without anyone else around?
No, sir.
You understand that he's the father of Scarlett.
Yes, sir.
You understand that he may very well at some point have clear visitation with Scarlett. That's this court's judgment call to make after hearing it.
Yes, sir.
At this point in time, do you believe that Scarlett knows exactly who he is?
No, sir.
Would you be willing to, in some way, facilitate telephonic calls between the child and father?
Absolutely.
Your parents, I know there's an order of protection in place, right? Do you believe that your parents would be willing to facilitate those phone calls so that the order of protection isn't violated and Mr. Thomas isn't going through any sort of violations in that manner?
Absolutely.
Any sort of in-person visitation that may occur between Mr. Thomas and Scarlett, would you feel comfortable with that happening in Tennessee, or would you prefer that it happen in West Virginia?
In West Virginia, sir.
Do you believe that Mr. Thomas has been stable enough to show that he can handle Scarlett without anyone else being around?
I don't believe so, sir.
And since Scarlett has been born, has Mr. Thomas been in a position to handle Scarlett for any extended period of time without anyone else around?
Can you ask that one more time, please?
Of course, yes, ma'am. Since Scarlett has been born, has Mr. Thomas been in a position to take care of y'all's daughter by himself without you or some other person around as an adult?
No, sir.
So
There
he's never had to do that.
no, sir.
In fact, you've asked him to do it again. You've asked him to do it, and he said no.
Yes, sir. And there was sorry.
No, go.
There was also a part of my reasons for her safety as well during the duration of our relationship after she was born. On a few of the times that he thought it was some funny game to try to, I don't know, obtain a reaction out of me. He thought it was funny to hang her upside down by her feet as when she was a couple months old, thought it was hilarious to give her stick beef jerky Slim Jim sticks in her mouth. There was a time that he gave her whole milk out of the jug thinking it was funny, as well as there was another occasion where he tried to give her bites of an oatmeal cream pie cookie.
Or at that period of time, was Scarlett on any sort of solid food like that?
No, sir.
At that period of time, she was very young.
Yeah, she was 3 months old at the time.
And you expressed displeasure about it?
Yes, sir. It made me irate because you can't do that to an infant.
And did Mr. Thomas change his behavior in any way?
No, he just laughed and thought it was funny.
And we heard from that video earlier that you may have your own parenting style. Does Mr. Thomas care about what your parenting style is?
I'm sorry, what was that last question?
We heard from the video earlier that you may have your own parenting style, but does Mr. Thomas care about what that parenting style is?
No, sir.
Does he care about what you want as a parent?
I don't believe so, sir.
And as far as your other children, he claimed that those other kids were being truant and that you were letting them just not go to school, period. Was that accurate?
No, sir. There was, I can recollect 2 times that the arguments were severe enough where he woke up the whole house during the nighttime and they were kept up till 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning because of his rants. And on those 2 particular instances that he woke up the house, I did not make my kids go to school that day, sir.
Was there ever any charge of truancy that you're aware of for any of your kids?
No, sir.
At this point, should this court order visitation, are you asking to start off with purely telephonic visitation?
Yes, sir.
After that, should there be any sort of in-person visitation, would you ask that that happen in West Virginia?
Yes, sir.
Would you like for that visitation to be supervised?
Absolutely, sir.
Obviously,
I
there's.
believe you've asked her that more than once.
I apologize. And for the financial aspects of things right now, are you asking the court to maintain what is there financially for you?
Maintain. Can you rephrase that? I'm sorry.
You're getting the 1,500 he's paying for the expedition and the insurance. Are you asking the court to maintain that as of right now?
Yes, sir.
Those counsels may have a few more questions for you. Thank you,
We're going
ma'am.
to take a mid-morning recess. All right, Mr. Bellamy, you may ask.
Ms. Thomas, are you able to hear me okay? Still?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I've just got a few follow-up questions for you, okay?
Okay.
So it was your testimony when Mr. Kirby was asking you some questions that you had stated that during a good portion of your marriage to Mr. Thomas, you guys would go out, meet clients, go to lunch with clients, that you were actively involved in that business. Is that what you just testified to?
Yes, sir.
And so all of that's going on while at home you're testifying that you're in this abusive relationship, that he's taking food out of the fridge, that he's cutting the power off to the oven, but you're going out and meeting business clients with him.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and you don't tell anybody about this stuff that's going on, do you?
Only my parents and his sister, sir.
You don't tell anybody else? You didn't call the police and get help other than the time in September when you reported to the police station, is that correct?
I called one other time before the marriage started. Yes, sir.
And you filed an order of protection then as well, correct?
Yes, sir.
You voluntarily dismissed that order of protection, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And I believe it was your testimony that you are in fear to be around Mr. Thomas yourself. You're in fear for Scarlett to be around Mr. Thomas, and you're in fear for your other children, his stepchildren. You were in fear for them to be around Mr. Thomas, correct?
Yes, sir.
But when you went to the bachelor party in Atlanta, you left your two older children there with Mr. Thomas, correct?
Yes, sir.
Was that just because it was convenient and you didn't care that you were in fear, or why did you decide to do that if you were in fear?
They had school, sir, and actually my 16-year-old, 15-year-old daughter at the time, that's usually the one that he had problems with. She went to stay at a friend's house during that time while I was gone.
But the other two children you left with him, correct?
No, the 4-year-old was with,
And Connor?
Dominic was with him. Yes, sir, not Connor.
Okay. And there's been some concerns about Dominic, is that correct?
Concerns about Dominic. Could you please recollect me on what the concerns are?
Did you ever express to Mr. Thomas that Dominic had touched your son Connor inappropriately?
Connor, at a portion of our marriage, had said that he'd say, Dominic, cut my pee-pee. Yes, sir.
And you requested that Mr. Thomas provide extra supervision when Dominic was around, and you kind of wanted him and Connor to be separate at times. Is that fair to say?
Yes, sir.
You wanted him to put up video cameras because of Dominic. Is that right?
No, sir.
You never asked him to put up any kind of video cameras?
He had an idea of putting a camera that he had within the house facing Connor's door, sir.
Okay. And you never discussed that with him?
When Michael brought it up, that's when it was discussed, sir.
So you did discuss that with him?
Yes, sir. In that context, when he brought it up, yes, sir.
And you had those concerns about Dominic, correct?
At that time, I thought it was odd that he was saying that, but after, then Connor's just saying, I was just playing.
Okay. But Dominic's in the home where Scarlett is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And so I believe it was your testimony that December 12th, 2023, he took your key, Mr. Thomas, you allege, took your keys, wallet, and phone and cut the Wi-Fi off. Where were you located? Was that at the house? Were you in Georgia? Were you in Texas? Where was that at?
I was at our house, sir.
Okay. And so it's your testimony you didn't have any methods of communication?
During that time period, no, sir.
Okay. And how long did that last for?
I believe it was 3 days because I think it was on the 4th day he came back and handed me back my keys, sir.
Did you immediately leave at that time or call the police?
Yes, sir. I left. He had told me he was going to stick the barrel of his gun down his throat and let me watch blow his brains out, and that he wanted me to watch him do that. After that, I proceeded to head on to the Dixon County Police Department, sir.
Okay. Did you file a police report at that time?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you have that with you? Did you
No,
provide
sir.
an attorney? Okay. And then in December of 2024, and that's previous to the marriage, December of 2024, you testified that you were in Virginia and he had threatened to kick you and the kids out. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
He was with you in Virginia at that time?
No, he was in Tennessee and I was in West Virginia with my parents, sir.
Okay. And so do you have messages where he's stating he's going to kick you and the kids out?
Yes, sir.
You don't have those before the court today? You don't have those text messages? You didn't give them to your, I'll strike that. But you don't have those text messages to present to the court today?
I don't have them physically to give to you all. No, not today, sir.
In May of 2025, I believe was when you testified you were at the hotel in Georgia and that he left. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
You testified you called his phone multiple times and he didn't answer. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
You have proof where you contacted him multiple times and he never answered.
Yes, that and through text messages, sir.
But you don't have those to provide to the court today.
I'm not physically there, sir.
You testified that the bank account was zeroed out.
Yes, sir.
Is that because your card was declined or you had access to could you check and see that the bank account was zeroed out? How are you saying the bank account's zeroed out?
So because when you go to the bank account and you pull up your app and there's $0 in the account, in our joint account, that's how I figured out. Or there was times before he added me onto the joint account where he let me personally use his debit card off of his own account and he would turn off his card from the app.
Okay. Did you take a screenshot of that at the time when the bank account reflected $0 while you were stranded in Atlanta or Georgia?
No, sir. I would just sit there and say through text messages, which I do have, which I can provide the courts when I can physically get them to them, or through my attorney, where I said the card is zeroed out. There is no money in it. Why is there no money in it again? There's multiple text messages throughout the duration of our marriage where he had emptied or turned off the card to which I had no access to money.
And I believe it was your testimony that was during an argument you allege you woke Mr. Thomas up in the early hours of the morning to take care of Scarlett. A verbal argument ensued and he left. Is that right?
That's correct, sir.
He peacefully went away, or you didn't have to force him to leave. You didn't contact the police for him to leave. He voluntarily left. Is that correct?
That's correct, sir.
He went to his sister's house to cool off, calm down, whatever. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
He came back and picked you up. Is that
He
correct?
did not come back and pick me up, sir.
He arranged for you to make it back to Tennessee. Is that correct?
That's incorrect, sir. His sister is the one that talked him into leaving the vehicle so he wouldn't leave me stranded without a vehicle. The whole plan along was to leave me in the state by myself with the children without a vehicle.
Did Mr. Thomas's sister have control over his vehicle?
No, sir.
Okay. So Mr. Thomas left you with a vehicle. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
You had testified that Mr. Thomas would require you to meet certain stipulations for you to have access to marital funds, correct?
Yes, sir.
Do you have any physical proof with you today to show the court these stipulations, requesting nude photos or sexual favors or anything of that nature?
I do not have the physical ability to give the courts copies of those today, sir.
And it was your testimony there were multiple occasions where Mr. Thomas would scream, lose his temper, break things in the house, clean out the fridge. And did those things happen before you decided to leave your 14-year-old child with him?
Yes, sir.
But so you still felt it was safe enough for your 14-year-old to be with him at that time. Is that correct?
Sir, it wasn't about feeling safe. It was a part of our everyday norm of what I dealt with him, sir.
And your 14-year-old child, does he have any special needs?
Yes, sir. He's autistic.
And is he verbal?
Yes, sir.
And you felt like Mr. Thomas could care for him?
I feel that my 14-year-old is pretty self-sufficient, sir. outside of needing somebody there watching him and making sure, obviously, normal parental duties of making sure nothing happens, sir.
You testified as well about an incident where your expedition was removed from a parking lot and there was a white truck that you identified as Mr. Thomas's truck in that parking lot after your expedition was gone, correct?
Yes, sir.
Did you physically see Mr. Thomas take the expedition?
No,
With your-
sir.
Okay. Did you review, or are you in possession of any type of video footage that demonstrates Mr. Thomas getting into the expedition and driving away?
Sir, I saw evidence when the hearing in March occurred and the property manager of that property that leases it to the doctor's office.
I'm going to object to that
Hold on
answer.
just a second.
And
That is not the question that I asked. The question I asked is she in any physical possession of any video footage that demonstrates Mr. Thomas getting in that vehicle?
Right.
The question is,
Do
she in
you have
possession?
in your possession any physical evidence to demonstrate that? Yes or no?
And Your Honor, just respectfully, that wasn't the question that was asked, I don't believe. It was, are you in possession of it, or have you reviewed anything that has been brought up?
I don't recall the review.
I don't
from it, but,
believe I said
he's
review.
rephrased his question. So the question now before the witness is, are you in possession of any physical evidence of Mr. Thomas getting into the vehicle and driving it away? Is that correct?
No, sir.
And again, it was your testimony that not only did you answer the phone for the company, you helped with the business, met with clients, you picked out countertops, and again, during a good portion of the marriage, you would go out with Mr. Thomas and meet at clients' houses and go to lunch with him and clients. That's your testimony before this court today, correct?
Yes, sir.
All while all this abusive situation's going on at home.
Isn't that typically how abusers work? They
I don't know,
keep-
ma'am, you tell me.
You cannot ask him questions. You may only answer his question.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Were your children, you had made a report to the police that you were sexually assaulted in September of 2025. Did you have, were your children in the home during that period? I believe you testified they were, is that correct?
Yes, all but Scarlett, sir.
Were they interviewed by the police?
What was that last question, sir?
Were they interviewed by the police?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you're aware that that charge went to the grand jury and they returned a no true bill on that charge?
It never went to the grand jury, sir.
Okay. So the police declined to take it to the grand jury or present the evidence to the district attorney?
That's correct, sir.
And you heard Mr. Thomas's testimony yesterday that he was adamant that that was not true?
I heard that. Yes, sir.
Judge, if I may just have one moment.
You may. Go ahead.
If I may follow up on that and follow
may.
up on what the court brought up before the recess. I believe there was a door that was opened that I'm going to try to walk through for just a second here, ma'am. At one point, was your daughter left in the care of Mr. Thomas?
Yes, sir. It was when I went to the bachelorette weekend, she was left in his care, sir.
And were there allegations that were made against Mr. Thomas following that?
Yes, sir, there was. She had claimed, I'm so sorry.
What were those allegations?
She said that he came downstairs to her bedroom.
Hold on just a second, Ms. Thomas.
I'm going to
You're
object to
objecting-
anything that the daughter says, Judge, it's hearsay unless it comes in under 80325, which I don't think a foundation's been laid for the court to determine that
I would
is
have to
admissible.
sustain it unless there's a foundation showing that it would come in under that exception.
Let me ask about this. Was the conversation that had with your daughter, is your understanding that it was of a very...
Which daughter are we talking about?
What's the name of the daughter?
Raya Lovejoy, sir.
And how old is that daughter?
She's 16 at this point, sir.
And at this time, how old was she?
She was 15, sir.
And were the conversation that you were made aware of, was it sexual in nature?
Yes, sir.
overtly sexual in nature?
Yes, sir.
And was that something that was made, is that,
It was made aware to me and my sister-in-laws, which is Michael's sisters, sir.
and when that statement was made, can you describe how your daughter was behaving? Did she seem scared or frightened?
My daughter was panicked and freaked out because he had came down to her bedroom, sir, and she had told me that he had sat on her bed with her. And
Judge,
he
I'm going to
said-
review my objection to hearsay. Under 80325, I think the court has to make a determination that this is trustworthy, that the proponent of this.
Sustain the objection.
I'll move on. The court asked you before we took a break if Ms. Thomas was the primary residential parent, you would want to see Scarlett as much as possible, right?
Yes, sir.
But you haven't been the one that has emptied out bank accounts, have you?
No, sir.
You haven't been the one that's been throwing things around the residences, have you?
That's correct, sir.
You're not the one that stranded children on multiple occasions or their spouse on multiple occasions, have you?
Mr.
That's
Kirk,
correct, sir.
or that she was called as an adverse witness by Mr. Bellamy, but she is your client, and it seems to me you are leading rather than testifying for her, so I'm just going to instruct you not to testify for her. Ask her a question.
Yes, Your Honor. I apologize. Do you consider yourself to be in the same position parentally when it comes to Scarlett as with Mr. Thomas at this point in time?
I don't believe so, sir.
Now, do you fault Mr. Thomas for wanting to be a part of the child's life?
No, sir, I don't fault him.
That's a parent duty, right?
Yes, sir.
What is your goal from all of this for the beginning part of these things when visitation is occurring?
My goal is to make sure that Scarlett is safe and secure, that she is warm. I don't know what the word I should use is, but basically gets to really get to know him through what you had mentioned, possibly through FaceTime, like on the phone interaction. So she gets to know him. I don't want her to ever feel scared at this age. It's a young age, and children cling on to their caretakers. I've been her caretaker for her whole life, and she's obviously very secured to me. And I want the least amount of trauma possible to I don't want that to happen to her. So the least amount of trauma that would not affect her is what my goal is, sir.
And at the very beginning part of this, have some sort of reintroduction.
I think that's highly important given her age, sir. That this is a age of stranger danger, and I know he's her father, and I respect that. I just want to make sure that her security and her safety is not pulled from her, and that is taken into consideration, sir.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
I have a couple of more questions. I'm a parent myself, Ms. Thomas, and I'm struggling to understand why you would want to give up your daughter for adoption. And we've put a stay on the ruling only about whether or not I can make a ruling regarding custody of that child, whether or not I have jurisdiction. But I can consider the facts and the circumstances and the reasons why that child has been surrendered by you. Did you surrender your parental rights to that child in order for that adoption to take place?
Yes, sir, I did.
So you understand, legally, you and that child have no further connection. And if I am correct that I have jurisdiction, the only parent who has any claim to that child would be Mr. Thomas. You understand that, correct?
Yes, sir.
When you put this child up for adoption, tell me why you felt, I've heard your testimony, I understand what you said, but share with me exactly what your thinking was about taking a newborn infant and putting that child in with someone else to raise that child.
To be honest, sir, at the time I was already, and think I mentioned in my testimony that things were already progressively getting worse in the marriage. And I was dealing with a newborn myself at the time, getting pregnant 2 months postpartum with a rapidly deteriorating relationship. I was honestly scared because I didn't, at that point, I didn't know how long the marriage was going to last at that point because things were starting to escalate more at that point. And my goal as a mom, I love my children. I love all of them. And placing her up for adoption was probably one of the hardest things I ever thought about doing. I have standards in my mind of what and how I want my children to be raised. And that is a Christ-centered home that they love the Lord, that they can provide a mom and a dad that can provide her the security and the foundations that I want for my own children. And at the time that I was married,
Have you considered putting Scarlett up for adoption?
no, sir.
And when you put baby Thomas, as we keep referring it up for, actually went through the adoption process, you had already separated from Mr. Thomas, correct?
Yes, sir.
And the question I would guess ask, what connection did you have to these folks in Colorado? How did you meet them? How did that come about?
Okay, so I had actually looked up on Google like Christian adoption agencies, and there was this place called Angel Adoptions, and I'd spoke to 3 different couples, and they were the third couple I had talked to, and I discussed what I wanted, what I was looking for, to how I wanted her life to be. And some of those was, like I said, a Christ-centered home, and I wanted her to be fed breast milk, and I wanted to make sure they had been together for quite some time. That was important to me because I wanted her to have the stability of a mom and dad that I knew were going to be able to provide that to her. And so over the course of months, we had messaged and talked almost every single day, relaying ultrasound messages and stuff. And so we developed like more than just an adoption relationship. We had formed a friendship throughout the course of the pregnancy. And so prior to even Amelia being born, I told you breastfeeding was one of the most important things to me. The couple had bought and gotten her breast milk prior to her arrival. When gave birth to her in the hospital, I nursed her in the hospital, sir. And since giving birth to her, before they even left the state of West Virginia to go back to Colorado, I have continued providing her breast milk to make sure she still has my milk. And it was their request when I left. They said, we want to make sure she has her mommy's milk. Are you willing to give her her mommy's milk? And I said yes. And so since then, it wasn't a decision that I just wanted to pawn off parental responsibilities on somebody else. I was trying to find my way after this abusive relationship that I was in, trying to repair relationships with my 2 older children from what they had seen and gone through, trying to figure out how I'm going to support my children on my own without having Michael's income. That's why I started the school full time, to get up on my feet so I could financially support, so I don't find myself in a situation that I felt like I couldn't see my way out of because I could not financially support the children and I.
All right, and when was baby Thomas born?
I'm so sorry, sir.
When was baby Thomas born?
She was born March 23rd, sir, of 26.
And that was, was that before or after this case had been filed?
This was after the case has been filed, sir.
This case was pending before this court when, and there was already an order down, I think, at that point for support of you and Scarlett when baby Thomas was born, correct?
So I think the support was in February, when I believe, to the best of my recollection, was February. And I think I got my first payment in either March or April, sir.
All right, and my last question is this. Did you consider the long-term effect on baby Thomas as well as Scarlett about separating these 2 sisters and having them grow up apart versus growing up in the same home?
Yes, sir, I did. I personally, I was adopted myself, sir, when I was a couple of days old out of the hospital. And I myself have 6 personal siblings out there that I've never met. And out of love for the child, I put her interest above my own. And I knew I live with my parents, sir, and I was forced out of the house because of repeated violations of the protection order, which Michael was given an ankle monitor on.
Let me stop you. I've heard all of that, but I guess my question was, you had testified a moment ago that you were worried about the trauma for Scarlett.
Yes,
But
sir.
as far as any trauma to the child you were surrendering, putting up for adoption, my experience has been, and you may know this because you were adopted, but my experience has been that children who were put up for adoption, when they learn they were adopted, one of the questions they ask is, why was I given up? Why would my parents not love me enough to want to stay with me? And have you thought about the fact that that may affect baby Thomas?
And my answer would be I loved her enough to sacrifice my own once over.
All right. Anything else for this witness?
I have based on that. Ms. Thomas, the judge asked you that you signed your parental rights away. You executed a voluntary relinquishment, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And as a part of the proceedings, should any of the proceedings fail in terms of the adoption, the agreement, what does it say happens with the child that was born?
That baby Thomas gets brought back to me and not the biological father, sir.
And that was part of the agreement.
Yes, sir.
And so if anything were to happen with this family, if anything were to happen with this adoption, you would still have the rights to have that child in your home based on what you were executing at that point.
Yes, sir. That was the only way I was willing to proceed with the adoption, was to have those safeguards in place.
And so at this point, you've executed a voluntary relinquishment, but the adoption has not been finalized by any stretch. We all know this, right?
Yes, sir.
So there has not been a final order that has terminated your parental rights in any way.
That's correct, sir.
And so at this point in time, you still have all legal standing to have that child back in your care and custody.
Again, you are testifying on behalf of your client, Mr. Kirby, which I find to not be an appropriate way to ask the questions.
Understood. In your opinion, do you still maintain your legal rights to that child?
Yes, sir. No adoption has been finalized, sir.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Bellamy, you have other witnesses?
Roberta Gilman, this will just be solely for the purpose, it's a character witness that has known Mr. Thomas for 2 years. She's willing and able to assist and help him if the
She
court.
here in person?
She is here in person,
Right,
Your
bring
Honor.
her
The
in.
court wants to hear from her.
You'll step up here, please, ma'am. Come around and have a seat in the witness stand.
So help me God, yes.
Thank you. Just have a seat there and speak into that microphone, please. Anything further, Mr. Bellamy? Thank you, ma'am. You may step down. You may have a seat in the courtroom, or you may leave. Call your next witness. All right. And Mr. Kirby, you have any additional witnesses?
I had one witness that I'd like to call. Her name is Ms. Megan Allen. She is the sister of Mr. Thomas. I provided her the link to allow her.
Did you file the motion under Rule 43.01 to have her come in by Zoom?
No, Your Honor.
Pardon?
And calling this because that rule has not been complied with.
No,
You
not
did
on
it
the-
for your client, but not for the witness. So.
Well, we just learned of the witness, which is why I couldn't comply with that as far as that is concerned. I understand why Mr. Thomas might not want his sister to testify to corroborate things, but that's all she's providing at that point is corroboration of the instances that we've already heard of.
All right, well, I'm going to sustain the objection to any additional witnesses that would come in on Zoom, so.
And then at that point, we have no one else that would be in the state of Tennessee
Right.
to call at any point.
Mr. Bellamy, you wish to make a closing argument?
We're here today on our motion for the immediate return of the minor child, and it was Mr. Thomas's first motion for extraordinary relief in this matter, and the basis for seeking that is
Let me interrupt and say one thing. I've reviewed this file 3 times, and there is no order that permitted her to leave the state of Tennessee that's contained within this divorce action. So when the reference has been made to an agreed order allowing her to remove herself and Scarlett to the state of West Virginia, it must have been entered in the order of protection case. It is not in this file. So.
Just on that, it had at the top of it circuit court.
Circuit court is where an appeal for the General Sessions order of protection would lie. So if that's the case, that's where the order lies. But it's not, I just wanted to make you aware, it's not in this file. So.
Understood, Your Honor. I thought everything had been joined. I apologize.
Thank you, Judge. And so, Judge, we're here on the emergency motion or motion for immediate return of the minor child. And we understand that and we respect the court's ruling with respect to staying the proceeding with regard to baby Thomas. However, we're moving forward with respect to Scarlett. And I know the burden is high for the court to issue that type of injunction or issue that type of extraordinary relief. We were required to prove immediate and irreparable harm. And I understand that the court might have some concerns that we haven't met that burden. The father's position in bringing this motion before the court is that he doesn't know. He gets informed she leaves in September under the order of protection, and he is served with adoption paperwork regarding baby Thomas sometime in the middle of May of this year. He does not know what the status is of their minor child, Scarlett. That gives him serious concern that his child, which DNA confirmed, was put up for adoption without his full knowledge and appreciation of what was taking place. I think the court can consider that in making its ruling today. I think, as the court has previously stated, it's directly relevant on the mother's parenting ability of the minor child, Scarlett. And as we've set this evidentiary hearing for, is to just establish parenting time. If the court's not going to grant the motion for immediate return of the minor child, Scarlett, father is asking for parenting time for Scarlett. We do understand that it's been some time since he has been in Scarlett's life. By the mother's own admission, she doesn't know who the father is. So we would understand if the court would require Mr. Thomas to go to West Virginia for a couple of weekends to exercise some overnight visitation with Scarlett prior to her coming to Tennessee. He is more than willing to do that if that's what the court thinks is necessary for him to reestablish a relationship with this child before sending her to Tennessee. The court has evidence. The court has pictures of his home. He has a setup. He has toys. He has everything he needs to take care of this minor child in Tennessee. He's willing to do so. Again, Mr. Thomas is on probation. There's been no violations. The court has heard there's been some criminal charges. We're not sure when those were exactly. We think those all predate the divorce with respect to the speeding and the aggravated assault in North Carolina and then the one in Georgia. But Mr. Thomas has been on probation in this county, and he has not been violated for that probation in this county. We would submit to the court that he has visitation rights to this child, that he should, at a minimum, once the court goes through any type of reunification procedures, since Scarlett's not in school, we would ask for month on, month off. We don't think that would harm Scarlett in any way. She's not in school yet. It might give the mother a break. She's got 4 other children in the home that she's taking care of. The father's more than fit, more than capable. I don't think the court's ever heard any direct allegation of the father harming or abusing Scarlett. The crux of mothers' complaints arise out of their relationship. There have been no further issues if there have been no contact between the parties. I think the court can continue to keep no contact between the parties. The third party's been presented here today that's testified she would help or facilitate the exchanges. I believe Mr. Thomas has other individuals to help facilitate exchanges if he needed to do so. That's with respect to the motion for the immediate return of the minor children. Since the stay's been granted with respect to baby Thomas, I won't get into that, but the court's got jurisdiction. We believe the court has jurisdiction, and we will ultimately ask the court to return baby Thomas to Mr. Thomas once this appellate process is completed. With respect to the motion to reduce the spousal support, I think Ms. Thomas was disingenuous to this court just now. The court had questions and asked her why she would give up her child for adoption, and it's because she said the abusive relationship and the lack of support. If the court looks at it, including Mr. Thomas's temporary support payment, she's making $5,000 a month. She's not paying rent, and she doesn't have a car note. He's paying the $1,300 a month car note as well. $5,000 a month to raise, and I know that's a lot of children, but she's not paying rent. She's living at home with her parents. She doesn't have childcare costs. Her parents watch the kids for free if she's needed to babysit. She doesn't have a job. She doesn't have to go anywhere during the day. She's chosen to do online school, which she has testified she can complete during the night. So I think it's disingenuous to say that she gave that child up because she didn't have the finances. She was receiving plenty of money for Mr. Thomas to support that child, nor the ability to parent that child. So with respect to the spousal support, as Your Honor pointed out yesterday afternoon, the court can consider the factors enumerated in the Tennessee Code annotated regarding temporary support. Need and ability to pay being the two primary factors. I don't think Ms. Thomas has a need, nor does Mr. Thomas have the ability to pay. But most importantly, I think the court can consider here, as the court pointed out yesterday, is the duration of the marriage. We have a 17-month-long marriage, and it's longer than that because of the proceedings, but 17 months from the date of the marriage until the parties separated. Mr. Thomas is paying $1,500 a month and has been since February. There were some later payments, I understand, but those payments have been caught up. Those payments have been made. So we have February, March, April, May, June, and July. That's 6 months. He's not only paid $1,500, he's paid $1,300 on top of that for the car payment for the Ford Expedition that she's driving, as well as a couple $100s a month in insurance. A total benefit of about $3,000 a month for a 17-year marriage.
17 months.
17-month marriage, I'm sorry, Judge. Thank you for correcting me. So ultimately, Judge, we're seeking a reduction in the spousal support. Mr. Thomas is willing to pay child support, calculated pursuant to the Tennessee Child Support Guidelines, and we're asking the court to reduce spousal
So is
support.
he on the note for this automobile?
He
that
is.
He's been paying?
He is responsible.
So if I say he doesn't have to pay it anymore,
It would just harm his credit.
expectation? Pardon?
It would harm his credit, likely. And I don't know if there's another vehicle that he could provide to her. I don't believe there is. But certainly we're asking the court to reduce the spousal support. He's willing to pay child support, and some temporary relief with the vehicle. I believe the reasoning was for getting the big vehicle. She had so many children. She gave one of the children away. I don't know that she needs the Ford Expedition any longer. So ultimately, we're asking the court to conclude the spousal support to Mrs. Thomas, but Mr. Thomas is willing to pay child support for his minor child, Scarlett, at this time.
Mr. Kirby?
Thank you, Your Honor. If I may, I'm going to start off where Ms. Bellamy left off, which is the financial aspects of things at this point. The vehicle was bought, I believe the testimony, the vehicle was bought as a Valentine's Day gift, if I'm not mistaken. Is it an expensive vehicle? Sure, it is. Mr. Thomas made that decision. Mr. Thomas went out and bought the vehicle. Mr. Thomas gave that to Ms. Thomas. Ms. Thomas has been the one primarily using that vehicle, which is something that the court must consider under case law. Mr. Thomas has been the one paying that, which is the court must consider. I believe that when we're talking about the bills, and I'm going to consider that to be a bill of the parties' relationship, not a necessarily a support amount on top of anything, but the bills, the typical aspects of things is that those things maintain a status quo. Mr. Thomas is the one that was making money to the point that he thought I should go out and purchase a vehicle that has a $1,300 car note on it. And on top of that, after purchasing that vehicle for Miss Thomas, Mr. Thomas went out and purchased another vehicle, a brand new Ford Mustang, to which by his own admissions, he's at least put on a new muffler for. He didn't have to do that. He had a Super Duty, he had another truck, he's had a Harley Davidson. He has taken out this money. He is not in any way hardship for this. He talks about what was in his bank account. I believe testimony was that he would keep $1,000 to $2,000 in that bank account, joint bank account, checking account, while the parties were together. Now that Ms. Thomas has left, it's up to over $5,000 just based on his testimony, if we believe his testimony, which I'll get to in a little bit. He testified that he's got, I believe it was between $40,000 and $50,000 in the savings account. We presented proof of significant, sizable deposits that were being made into the work bank account. We submitted proof that just before their separation, he had over $250,000 available to him. $250,000, of which Ms. Thomas had absolutely no access to. And now he wants to come in here and say, I can't afford to pay for the vehicle that I selected. I can't afford to pay for the support that was previously ordered when he didn't show up in the first case. And he wants a second bite at the apple to make sure that he doesn't have to pay her. He can afford to pay her. He could have come that day. He could come that day and request a continuance. He didn't. The record reflects that the attorney for him at that point stated before this court that he was made aware of what was happening that day. But now he wants a second bite at the apple, and I say that that's a vindictive way of going about things. He has plenty of money to give $1,500. My estimation is that $1,500 is probably less than what he should be giving. On that $1,500, we have someone that's a full-time student. We have someone that didn't work throughout the entirety of their marriage. Well, actually, I take that back. Based on her testimony, she did work. She just wasn't paid for it because that would have given Mr. Thomas less control over her financially. She did jobs, she did things for the business, but she wasn't given a paycheck for that. And Mr. Thomas reaped the benefits of it and stashed away $250,000 in an account that she didn't have access to. She's now living with parents. It was previously that she was going to move to an undisclosed location. That location's been disclosed at this point because Ms. Thomas now knows where she is thanks to this hearing, but that was unavoidable. And so when it comes to what is there, this is a short-term marriage. Sure, it is. But the income discrepancy of what's been shown is exponential. The fact that he has chosen as the sole managing member of this LLC, he has chosen to pay himself $800 a week, $40,000 a year, should hold no weight to this court whatsoever. Testimony is that he's paying for his 2025 Mustang through the business account. He was paying for other things through the business account. Ms. Thomas's testimony was that they go out to eat. He paid for that through the business account. Like many people, he was living through his business account. He was living through the fact that he had $252,000 to his name that she had no access to whatsoever. And now we have to believe, even if we believe him, that he has $100,000 to live off of. And that's assuming that he makes no money whatsoever, which the business is still operating and still making money. He has every single ability to pay. She has every need to pay. Part of the thing that the court needs to take into consideration as well is fault, which I believe that there's been proof shown of abuse throughout this, proof shown of situations within the home that made it uncomfortable for my client to be there. has taken into consideration the educational difference. My client is going through education. She is doing that for herself. No one forced her to do it. She's trying to put herself in a better situation. This will not be a case of alimony in futuro. This will not be a case of where this goes on forever, but it is a case where she needs rehabilitative and/or transitional alimony, and it is not inappropriate in any way whatsoever for Mr. Thomas to be remaining in the financial predicament that he himself created with his own choices, and to remain in that place for the foreseeable future. As far as the children are concerned, I apologize. As far as the child is concerned, court's going to look through with this 36-106, and I'm going to hit on a few of them. I'm not going to do all of them, but a few of them. One, strength of nature. There is no relationship between Scarlett and Mr. Thomas. And again, I submit that that is of his own doing. We had an order of protection that was heard. It's now on appeal. I understand that. But it was heard. It was granted. We had Mr. Thomas being arrested for various charges, including violations of order of protection. We heard testimony, uncontroverted testimony, that there was this abuse within the home. The court heard the recording of what was just one example of what goes on in that home. The court heard the difficult testimony of my client of the abuse there. Yes, he hasn't had the opportunity to have a relationship with Scarlett, but let's not pretend that that opportunity was given up based upon, let's not pretend that that opportunity was given up based on Mr. Thomas's own chosen actions. Parents, caregivers, past and potential. Testimony was that he was given the opportunity to care for Scarlett on multiple occasions. He said, no, thank you. No, thank you. It wasn't until this litigation happened, it wasn't until he got notification of this adoption that happened, that he cared to come in and ask about any of it. Vindictiveness, that's all that is. Control, which he's exhibited throughout the entire relationship, financially or otherwise. Taking keys, turning off Wi-Fi, taking cell phone. Putting my client in positions where she's had to rely on others, or putting my client in a position where she's had to rely on income that she gets. And I very much stress to not call it income, because child support truly is not income. We look at the Tennessee child support guidelines. Child support for another child is not considered income under those, and I think it would be a stretch calling it income for any other purposes, truly. But money that she received for her other children, she now has to stow away, because she's got to make sure that she can fill up a gas tank to get home, because she never knows when Mr. Thomas is going to go off the deep end and leave her stranded. And by the way, she never knew when Mr. Thomas was going to go off the deep end and leave the children stranded, to include Scarlett. If he cared about Scarlett, he wouldn't leave Scarlett alone without money. He wouldn't leave Scarlett alone without food. He wouldn't leave it to where there's not a stove to warm up breast milk for the child for 7 days. He wouldn't leave it to where he was going through, going to leave that child in a completely different state with mother having no money whatsoever so that she could find her way back to Tennessee. That's very much on a roll there.
I think that was the timer on yours.
I understand. When it comes to that, there is no past caregiving ability for Mr. Thomas. And frankly, there's been nothing presented as far as his future caregiving ability. Mr. Thomas hadn't come in here today to say he's done any parenting classes. He hasn't come in here today to say he's done any anger management. He hasn't come in here today to say that he's bettered himself. The only person he brought in at this point was to come in and say, I don't know any of these things. I'm told the information that Mr. Thomas presents to me, and that is it. That is it. Love, affection, emotional ties. Again, there are no ties. Degree to which the primary caregiver, mother's been that. Disposition to provide the child with food, clothing, medical care, education, and other necessary care. Again, I go back to the fact that mother's done those things on a limited basis, limited means, financial means, and father has actively chosen to stand in the way of mother being able to do that on occasion, leaving her stranded without being able to provide other necessary care and/or food, depending on how the court wants to look at that. Importance of continuity in the child's life. There's no question of what continuity is here. Continuity is mother. Character and behavior of other persons. Oh, excuse me, that one's not there. Evidence of physical or emotional abuse to the child, to the other parent, or to any other person, including the child's siblings. Court may, where appropriate, refer the issue of abuse to juvenile court for further proceedings. That's not, the latter part is not appropriate here, but there was proof presented, testimony and otherwise, of abuse that occurred. Verbal abuse, physical abuse. My client testified about sexual abuse. Those things happened in a home where stepchildren were. Those things happened in a home where biological child was. Those things happened in front of biological child and stepchildren. Those things happened while Ms. Thomas was caring for this biological child. Any other factors deemed relevant by the court? This is the last thing that I want to say here. These two stories cannot coincide in one realm. Ms. Thomas can't be telling the truth, and Mr. Thomas can't be telling the truth at the same time. They are complete opposites. The court has to make a decision on who has more veracity as they sit here today. Do we believe the individual who is clearly getting upset, clearly have a hard time speaking about certain things, clearly coming before this court and trying to give the best answers that she could? Or do we believe the individual that, as his spouse is testifying, snickers? Do we believe the individual that sat there and was evasive, especially when it came to finances? These two stories cannot coincide truthfully in the same realm. And the court has to make a decision of who is more truthful veracity. And I believe that my client, without a shadow of a doubt, has presented herself far better than Mr. Thomas has.
The courtroom heard a disturbing child safety allegation involving a very young infant. According to the accusation, the man allegedly held the baby upside down by the feet and gave the infant foods and drinks that the mother considered inappropriate for such a young child. What made the allegation even more disturbing was her claim that when she objected, he allegedly laughed instead of taking her concerns seriously. The details immediately raised serious questions about the child's safety and the behavior taking place around the infant. As the allegations were presented, the courtroom was left to consider just how serious these accusations were and what consequences could follow.